Hi everyone, I am here with the third part of creating this junk journal, and I am ready to start adding some laces and trims. I really wanted to start decorating the cover, but I figured I would start by adding some laces and trims to the edges. It's one of my favorite things to do in my journals these days is add lots of different laces, ribbons, trims, and things to the edges. Not only does it add a beautiful detail when you're flipping through the journal, but also when the journal is closed, whether it's on display or it's just, sitting on a desk somewhere or whatever. I love the way that the laces and the trims look as they're peeking through the edges there. So I have a few laces off to the side. What I do is I gather up the laces that I want to use that fit the color scheme for the journal that I'm making, which more often than not is really always the same color scheme, but that's okay. So I have them off to the side, and what I'm doing is just going through each page or so, and I'm looking to see where the lace will look the best. And here is where oh yes, okay, so I finally remembered to get like a little paper to put underneath. I had something earlier, but it wasn't the right size. I do try to put a little paper or board or something underneath so that I'm not getting glue on the page beneath it. What I do is I try to look at the surrounding pages and just see which pages may need a little added interest to them. Especially if I have like half pages or little pages like this, I like to let the laces hang over just a bit. I think it adds just a nice extra detail. So as I'm looking through these pages, I notice that these two pages are both similar in that kind of creamy color, like the ledger style page there. So I want to add a couple of laces to this just to add another detail, and I'll probably add some sort of embellishment. Some of the pages that have the flowers or the other really pretty images don't really need as much because your focus there is going to be that image or the paper. But if you have two not as detailed pages, that's the perfect place to add laces or embellishments or things like that. I am using hot glue for this. That's typically what I do. I am saving up for a sewing machine right now, so when I have a sewing machine, I will most likely sew them, and I would do that before the binding. I used to have a sewing machine, and I would do that sometimes. I've never sewn onto antique paper though, so that may be a little trickier. That may be something totally different, but I'll have to give it a try and we'll see. So on this page, I have an antique dictionary paper there, and I thought that trim would look good, but then I realized I didn't really want to cover up that dictionary page. I'm turning it to the side here, and I realize it kind of looks like holes on the side of the page, so I wanted to make sure that it was lined up to the left side. And when I start gluing it, I realize that some of that glue is peeking through the holes, so then as I glue the rest, you'll see that I start to add the glue directly to the lace. That way I don't have any hot glue peeking through those holes there. Something I frequently do when I am adding things to the edges of the pages is I continuously flip back to make sure everything looks good, that I'm not adding too much lace, that I'm not skipping over too many pages at once. So you'll see shortly after this, I'll start kind of flipping through just to see how everything looks. I really like using a few ruffle laces too. It adds a bit more dimension than just the flat laces. And I really like pairing that ruffled lace with other flat laces around it. This particular ruffled lace is really, really cute, and I don't know where I got it from. It was in in a lot somewhere that I bought, and there wasn't a whole lot of it there, but I really, really like it. I'm actually going to use a bit of it to make a flower for the front, I think, because I really like the edge there. And it is pouring, so if you can hear the rain in the background, hopefully it's not too loud. And let me know too if you're still watching. Let me know how the sound quality is on this. For the first video, I did a voiceover. For my second video in this little mini series that I'm trying out, I tried to talk while I was actually creating, which was a challenge for a couple of reasons, but I believe the sound quality wasn't nearly as good. So just let me know if you're able to hear me okay with this voiceover option. What I did is I just filmed this earlier, and I am taking a few moments now to watch it back, of course, and then add audio. I think part of the problem is not only the distance of my face from the camera with the creating while talking while I'm creating, but it's also just the processing of trying to create and talk at the same time. It's definitely not a strong skill of mine to create and talk at the same time. So I think what happens is I tend to mumble and I tend to ramble a bit more. So we're trying it this way again to see how that works. Also, my daughter is here and she is being very quiet, and I know she wants to eat her ice right now and watch her TV show, but she is being very quiet so I can do the voiceover. And this is a much faster process than, me sitting here and creating for 25 minutes and her having to be quiet. So the other video that I did where I would talk and create, I did it at night. So I think not only was I mumbling and talking too low, I was being quiet because it was nighttime as well. Okay, so I am going through now and I'm looking to see if there's anywhere else I can add a little bit of lace. I don't want to add too much. I want to add it where it's really going to add like a really pretty detail. This lace is gorgeous. It's an antique metal trim, and it's from the early 1900s. I have some that is going to go in the shop eventually, but I just can't yet. So I'm using a tiny bit. I don't like that I have to use hot glue on it, but that's okay. It's really, really beautiful. If you've ever had metal trims or seen metal trims, they are just so unique and beautiful. I wish they would make something like that these days, but it just wouldn't be the same. The quality is not the same. I love the way that looks with the white lace in the background, that bobbin lace, and then the silver lace. I had a little bit left over and I created a little tab. I'm thinking I may do a few more tabs too, because I have some other laces that are left over, just little bits of them. But I will go through and look at that later. I want to make sure I'm edging all the pages here. That's my main goal for this part. There are so many pretty elements there. I don't want to add lace and take away from the other elements that are there. Sometimes I just really want the digitals and the images to be the focus of that spread. I'm going to add one more ruffled lace. I don't want to have just one. I want to have at least two. Whenever I'm edging papers in a journal and I want to make sure I'm including lots of lace, I try to have at least two, possibly three ruffled laces. Again, I really like the way they look. I like balancing them with just the plain straight laces as well. And this one is a really soft vintage ruffle lace. And I have enough to make a flower with, so that's great. The edging looks a little bit wonky, so I want to put another lace there so that you don't see the wonky edge. And that lace is really, really pretty. And I think I'm gonna add one more. This is just I'm not sure if it's like a nylon or a polyester. It's a vintage lace, but it's definitely a newer vintage lace. It's definitely 20 years old or more, but it's not like 50 years old. But it's just really soft, and I really like the look of it. And I am looking to see if I'm going to add that little crochet piece, and I end up not using it. I really like the little tassel on it, and so it kind of gives me an idea for the cover, and you'll have to come back for part 4 to see that. I'm just flipping through now to make sure I like the look of everything. I may eventually add a few more lace pieces, but for now I have a really good base of detail. So thank you guys so much for watching. Come back for part 4. Bye.